Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Kustas, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hello, and welcome back to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Kustas, and I am so glad that you are here today. Today, we're beginning a two-part series on something I believe almost every woman, I'm going to say over 30, has felt. And that is that community changes. And when it changes, it can feel confusing. It can feel lonely, even a little bit disorienting. So today we're going to talk about that shift. But before we dive in today, I just want to pause for a moment because this is actually our 100th episode. And that feels so surreal to me. 100 conversations, you guys, 100 times sitting down, turning on a microphone, and choosing to use my voice. 100 opportunities to show up even on the days that I may not have felt like it. Although I will say this has been something I absolutely have fallen in love with. And if I'm honest, I didn't start this podcast knowing exactly what it would become, but somewhere along the way, it really has become community. It became a space where women gather, where we think, where we grow, where we feel seen. And it feels incredibly fitting that this 100th episode is about community because you listening right now, you're a part of that. So thank you. I do not take it lightly that you spend your time here. And I am so honored that we've made it to 100 together. Truly, I am so grateful. And I just love what I get to do. So let's now talk about the shift with community that no one warns us about. And let me just get into it by saying, have you ever looked around your life and realized that your community doesn't feel the same anymore? Not because you aren't loved, not because you don't know people, not because you don't know lots of people, but because something has actually shifted. And maybe you can't quite name it, maybe you can't quite put your finger on it, but the conversations feel different to you. Maybe the depths of the conversations are different. The alignment feels different. And no one really warned us that this would happen. Or at least I can say no one warned me that that was going to happen. Because here's the thing, there was a time where community just did happen. We were in school. Some of us went to college. There were dorm rooms. There were early jobs that we had, maybe even church groups that you belong to. I know for me, like the neighborhood filled with other families that we were in community with. Because here's the thing, proximity actually built our connections. You didn't have to really try that hard. You just showed up. But somewhere, at least for me, I feel like it started to happen maybe in my 30s. For me, later 30s, but I feel like this can be any time. Maybe it's even in your 20s if you're listening here. But it's where life started to feel really layered for me. So here's what I mean by that is that some of us are scaling businesses. Some are navigating a change in relationship, possibly a divorce. Some of you are caring for your aging parents. Some of you are empty nesters or you are preparing to be an empty nester. Some of you are still raising toddlers. Some of you might be reinventing your identity. You may be going through a healing process. And even you could be in a place where you're just asking deeper questions. You're getting curious about different things in life, what is to come. And here's what ends up happening is that this overlap isn't automatic anymore. And that's where things start to feel really different. And there's this loneliness that shows up in adulthood that isn't even about being alone. So hear me out here. It's about not feeling deeply known. You can have people in your life, you can have lots of people in your life and still feel unseen. If this is resonating with you, you can just be like, yep, this is what I'm feeling, and I have not been able to put my finger on it. Because when you evolve, as you are growing, when your values start to be refined, when your tolerance for drama drops, when you desire for depth, this is when the old dynamics don't always stretch you or stretch with you. And that can feel a lot like grief. And again, it's not this dramatic grief. I don't want to insinuate that, but it's a quiet grief. It's the grief of outgrowing. Well, let me give you an example. I actually felt this very, very recently. I was a part of a leadership group in our community that was truly one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It was a full year with some of the most incredible leaders that live here in my town and in towns that are close by. And this experience really stretched me, it challenged me, it built me. And I now am lucky enough to say that I am an alumni, and they recently just celebrated their 25th year anniversary. So every year is a new group of people that come through. But when you become alumni, you all become like kind of like this family that went through this experience. And anyways, went to this big event. My husband was the DJ. I knew so many people in the room. And there was lots of conversation, there were big hugs, laughter, catching up, all the things. And I genuinely loved seeing everyone. But I'm going to tell you, when I got in my car and when I got home, I was completely depleted. And it kind of surprised me, actually, because nothing was wrong, but something just felt very different. There's something that shifts when you're no longer in that daily relationship with people, when you're not building right alongside of them, when you're not growing in that same rhythm. Like I graduated from this group 2 years ago. It was a class of 2024. And so we just, have gone our own ways. We've built, we're continuing to build our lives and we're just not in that same rhythm. And so what ends up happening is it became a lot of small talk, a lot of, really quick updates, a lot of, yeah, we should grab coffee soon, right? Like all of those conversations. And I just kind of noticed a little bit of I don't know, just like a little ache almost when I got home and I was reflecting on it, not because I don't care, but because it's not the same. It just isn't the same. And I even feel like this sometimes when I connect with my former teaching community, which I was with them for, I mean, with a lot of them for, gosh, 20 to 25 years. And that was literally a place that felt like home for me. And so when I say grief, when I'm being honest, it means that sometimes I just get sad because there's this realization that in this space, you recognize that that season has shifted in your life. And again, it's not dramatic. I don't want to be dramatic. It's not like this massive conflict. It's not anyone's fault. And I definitely want to say that. It's not anyone's fault. It's just this evolution. And I've had to admit something to myself that, and this is hard for me to say out loud, but it is my truth. I don't have the capacity to hold every room I've ever been in. And I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe I never did. Maybe that's why life keeps refining our circles. And even I am someone who builds communities. So I feel this deeply. And here's something that feels vulnerable to say out loud. I didn't build community because I had endless capacity. I built it because I actually needed it. Even as more of an introvert, I know people always go, there's no way that you are. Yes, I am. I promise you. Even as someone whose social battery drains really quickly, even as someone who prefers depth, I think that's what it is for me. I just prefer depth over a lot of noise. And I recognized that I needed intentional spaces. I needed rooms where the conversations weren't about transactions. It wasn't just about catching up really quickly, but it was about becoming. It was about connecting. It was about relationships. I needed women who were also in that same space, women that were choosing to grow, choosing to be on this journey of life. Oftentimes, I recognize that my energy draws in women who are wanting more in their life, who are wanting to refine things a little bit. And most importantly, I'm recognizing that I draw in a lot of women that are willing to be honest, willing to be really honest. And I didn't build the collective and the Shine House because I had it all figured out. I'm going to tell you that for sure. I built it because I didn't want to navigate this journey of growth alone anymore. I left teaching and I really like literally sit in this office for much of my day. I record my podcasts here. I do my content here. I meet with people on Zoom here. So this has become my space, and I didn't want to navigate that alone anymore. And even if you are a teacher in community, you might be feeling this longing more. And I just use that as an example, but you might be yearning for more community because it means depth. And I'm telling you, I know I'm not the only one because everyone that comes into my community says things like this, right? Because women in their 30s, their 40s, 50s, and beyond, here's the thing, we carry full lives. We have a mental load. We are carrying emotional labor. We have oftentimes teenagers. I know for me, I have a teenager and a young adult. I have aging parents. We have careers, businesses. We have a marriage. Maybe we're healing from something, going through our own health issues or healing from something that we've gone through. The bottom line is we are full. And because we're full, community now requires, hear me out, it requires intentionality. It requires us to be intentional. It has to be chosen. And, and there's lots of ands here, choosing it requires you to be vulnerable. It requires vulnerability because we think, so again, just quietly go, yep, yep. if this resonates with you. We think everybody already has their group. And we also think it feels awkward to try. I don't want to be the new one. Am I too much? Am I not enough? So, what we do is instead of stepping forward, we quietly stay where we are. And, it doesn't mean that you're miserable. Maybe you are, but I wasn't miserable. I was really happy in a lot of areas of my life, but I wasn't deeply connected either. It felt like I was losing that a little bit. And I want you to hear this. It's not that you're bad at community, you're just building it at a different level now. You're in a different chapter of your life. So, this is why I feel so called to curate intentional spaces. And I really work hard not to create just rooms that are surface level. I really want the grounded, growth centered rooms, spaces where women with full lives can land. They don't have to perform. That's the biggest thing. I don't want you to feel like you have to perform in a community. And I love to curate spaces where mentorship and community can all kind of exist together and where trust matters the most. Because, going to a therapist, that is important. I am all for it. Getting coaching one on one, all of those things are great. But community matters, especially where we are at this day and age. And because growth is beautiful, you guys, but growth without aligned community can feel super exhausting. It can feel exhausting because again, you go to someone, you go to a coach, you go, and I'm a coach, you guys. This is what I do. I mentor women. I do one-on-ones with clients. And I've been to therapy. Like I've done that work. I continue to do that work. But when you are growing alone, when you are doing it by yourself and you have like a weekly appointment and you touch base with your coaches, it can still feel exhausting because you can still feel alone in it. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt deeply known? Are you in rooms that reflect who you are today and who you are becoming? Or who you used to be? Are you settling for proximity or are you choosing resonance? Because that's what I want you to really digest today. I want you to really digest that and think about what does life look like for you now? Next week, we're going to talk about this even deeper because even when we recognize the shift, even when we know we have outgrown certain rooms, even when we crave something deeper, there is something that keeps us from stepping into the new ones. And it's not like the logistics of it, it's not time, it's fear. It's fear of not fitting in. It's fear of, like I said, being too much or not being enough. Fear of starting all over again. Because that's hard. That's hard to think about. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to like build relationships again. I'm going to have to be vulnerable again. That isn't easy to do. And I get that. And so in part two, we're going to go there. And it's not because we're broken, you guys. I really want you to hear that. We're not broken in this space. You're just, again, we're just evolving. And it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard, I promise you. There is ways that you can start to dip your toes in. There are ways that you can do this, I promise. And you can feel seen right away if you're in the right room. So just want you to think about those questions, want you to reflect on those, want you to, again, think about where you're at in your life. And if this resonates with you, I want you to really sit with it. And if you felt seen in this conversation, then that tells you something. I truly, truly believe, and this is why I'm really leaning into the work that I do. We were not designed to evolve in isolation. And again, it's one of those things that this is why I love having in-person and virtual communities because I do feel like there is um, how do I put this? There is a space, there is a time and a place for both. Or maybe it is more convenient to do one over the other. Because trust me when I tell you that I am in some virtual communities. I am in a virtual community. Now, I will say I have met almost all of them, I think, with the exception of one. I've met all of them in person at a retreat that we went to. However, we only met one time. And we started a mastermind together. And let me tell you, these women, I look so forward to seeing them and being with them once a week virtually. Literally, they're like some of my closest confidants. They are people that help me in my business. They see me, they know my personal life. And it's all been virtual in the last year. So I just want to say that there is room for both. There is room for, if you are just like, I just would love to connect somewhere virtually, or if you're someone that's like, nope, I need some stuff in person. Most of us kind of love a blend of that, but it just depends on where your capacity is. And again, we're going to talk about stepping into that. But if you are craving intentional aligned community right now, not just the events, not just the surface connection, but real relationship, mentorship. I would be deeply honored to welcome you into the Shine House. And it's not about joining another thing, you guys. It's about stepping into a room where you don't have to shrink, you don't have to perform, you don't have to pretend. It's a room where growth is supported. It's a room where full lives are understood. And it's a room where depth is normal. It's not like weird. And I really believe that we're building something that is going to be so beautiful. I mean, we have just barely scratched the surface, but I truly believe with all of my heart, this virtual Shine House is going to be extremely sustainable for what my vision is and the women that are already saying yes to it. I can feel the energy in the room already. And it's funny because I still notice there's a free membership, and then there's also a tier that is just $7 for now. It is literally, I literally bought a latte for $7.35. It is less than that per month to go even deeper and to really be able to dip your toes in more so than just being kind of a lurker. I've got lots of women that are still like in that free space going, well, I'm just kind of checking it out. But you really start to get the depth with the membership. And I'm just going to say, I am so deeply excited about this space. And there's going to be so much growth there. Trust me when I tell you that. There's going to be so much opportunity in that room. And the women you can meet, I mean, you may very well meet your bestie for life in there. I have met so many women online that have become dear, dear friends. And I don't know what I would do without them in this part of my journey, in this phase of life. Truly. So you're allowed to outgrow some of the groups that you have been in, some of the communities, friendships you've been in, and you're allowed to continue to seek community and depth. I don't want you to feel guilty about that. You're allowed to choose you and making sure that it aligns with who you are now and to build something new. That's okay. You have permission to do that, and you're worthy of being so deeply known. And if you've been quietly wondering where your people are in this season, it might be time to choose your room. It might be time. And I'm not the only room out there, there's lots, but I would love to have you. And if you're here locally, we have the Rise to Shine Collective, which is absolutely phenomenal. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that with our virtual community, the Shine House, this is going to merge into things. I already have it in my vision. I already know it to be true that there will be retreats, there will be gatherings, there will be events that we can all come together, even if you are living in different states, in a different country, because I know being that we have been in the top 5% globally, I get to see that we've got listeners in Canada. We have listeners in South Africa, in the UK. I mean, it's wild. So just know that there will be opportunities to also come together at some point. So, with that being said, I can't wait for I should say for part 2 of this series. And I am again so grateful for you that you are here for the 100th episode. You guys, thank you so much for being a part of this community. And as always, keep rising, keep shining, and know that your best day is right here waiting for you. Until next week. Until next time, keep shining, my friends. Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat.